and they would basically buy the land and build the building, then sign a lease with Topgolf. So I flew with my team. Actually, originally I flew and I met a guy actually in Vegas. I met the chairman, and I said over dinner, and I said, I'd like to be the worldwide exclusive financier of Topgolf.
Wow.
And he's like, well, that's a big ask. And he goes, how much money do you have? And I guess, as of right now, not even $1. He laughed. He goes, I like your style.
Wherever you guys are watching this show, I would truly appreciate it if you follow or subscribe. It helps a lot with the algorithm. It helps us get bigger and better guests, and it helps us grow the team. Truly means a lot. Thank you guys for supporting, and here's the episode. All right, guys, I'm here with Erik Weir here today. My man, Topgolf legend, huh? How'd you get involved with Topgolf?
Man, it's a funny story. So I went to Topgolf, had an appointment cancel, and I was with one of my sons. We went by to visit a Topgolf, and I'm like, this was so much fun. And we stayed longer, and we spent more money than we planned on it. And I'm like, I would love to be involved in this at some point. And then a little time went by. I went to another Topgolf, and this time was Father's Day. And I brought my dad, and I brought all my kids. And it's one of the few times that all of us had a great time doing the exact same thing. And I thought, I want to get involved in this. And then he started building one in my hometown, and I learned that at that time, Topgolf had a company that would provide capital, and they would basically would do what's called reverse build to suit. And they would basically buy the land and build the building, then sign a lease with Topgolf. So I flew with my team. Actually, originally I flew and I met a guy actually in Vegas. I met the chairman, and I said over dinner, and I said, I'd like to be the worldwide exclusive financier of Topgolf.
Wow.
And he's like, well, that's a big ask. And he goes, how much money do you have? And I guess, as of right now, not even $1. He laughed. He goes, I like your style. And I was with my son. He goes, so you flew all the way out here to ask me to finance Topgolf without any preparation or capital? I'm like, well, give me a chance and we'll pull it off. I said, we've raised capital before, and I have a history of an investment bank. And I said, if we have exclusivity, I think we can add value and also help you raise capital. And then we partnered with other people, because everything you do, you can't do by yourself. It takes a great team, another organization. And then we began to finance 5 in the U.S.
Wow.
And then I kept asking the management team, the then CEO, hey, I'd love to be involved in Europe and actually have a franchise. And in their great wisdom, they didn't give it to me. So they gave it to another group, and I approached them. I'd love to be your capital partner. And that's how I've gotten involved. So we're capital partners, and our goal is to build 20 locations in Europe.
Wow. I didn't even know they were worldwide. I thought it was a U.S. thing.
No, they're worldwide now. And actually, they're in the Middle East, and there's some in China. And our location, our first one we opened up, is in Oberhausen, Germany.
Nice. So if someone wants to franchise one, they look very expensive to build. How much would that cost?
It depends on the materials and where you are in the world, but roughly they're above the land. They're between 30 to 40 million.
Wow.
Above land.
That's a lot, but you probably make it back within a certain amount of time.
They're very profitable.
Nice. Yeah, because once it's up, the cost is, I guess, is just labor and cleaning and maintenance.
It's labor, it's material, it's your. I guess when you look at most things, it's people are your largest cost.
Yeah.
And then with Topgolf, you have a revenue of food and beverage, and you also have a revenue of you rent the lanes during certain hours. You
said you had experience raising capital before this, which is a very valuable skill. How did you get into that, and how much did you raise at first?
Well, it depends. How I got into it was being in participation. So I was with a major investment bank, and it was in San Francisco, and it was during the .com and software growth phase of the 90s. And I was a vice president with this particular company, and I would call on technology companies and try to meet with them, and I would bring our head of investment banking with us. And I witnessed how they would raise capital, how they would structure transactions and deals, and the benefit and value they created for entrepreneurs. Like, well, I've got an idea, but I need capital. And then when you find, if you can find, competence and capital and creativity together, it's magic.
Right.
And that's what I learned in that process. And I did that with a company without my own capital. And then after I left and went up my own business, it was then Weir Capital Management in 1999. We began doing individual real estate deals, like a single house individually. Then I did a multifamily, and then self-storage, and then ultimately multi-use properties, warehousing, and then ultimately Topgolf.
Got it. So you worked your way up.
It took time, and like anything else, you'll have a setback, and you keep persevering, and then as you execute, you get more opportunities to oftentimes execute on a larger scale.
Right. And do you invest in revenue companies, or have you done any pre-revenue?
I've done pre-revenue, I've done post-revenue, and usually now what I look for is a CEO or somebody who has clarity of what they want to accomplish. They know exactly where they want to end up, and they need a little bit of capital to get there.
Right.
And have a clear business plan of who they'll bring in to help them along the way.
Okay, so you do care about the plan.
Huge on plan, because and this is going to sound unusual. Most people think that capital is the hard thing to get, or money. Because a lot of us think about lack, like I don't have it in my pocket, so I don't have it.
Right.
But actually, getting to clarity is a hard thing. Clarity is the hardest thing to get to. And if you get to clarity attracts capital. It attracts people who are competent and people who are creative. So clarity is the most important thing.
I love that. I used to have the mindset of, accessing capital was hard, but once you establish some connections, some credibility, some experience, it's actually not that bad.
It's not that bad, no.
I just got 0%, $200,000 on credit cards like a few months ago.
Oh, wow.
Just because I have good business record, good bank statements.
Sure.
And 0% for 12 months.
No way. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
In this environment, that's almost unheard of.
I know, right? Especially in this environment, because I just took out a car loan and that was 10%, and that's like unheard of.
Whoa. Yeah.
Those used to be like 0 to 2%.
No, they'd almost pay to take a car. 0% for 3 years.
I know.
Sometimes.
I kind of wish I just bought it out at this point, because that's so much.
Exactly.
But for 2024, 25, are you specifically investing in certain areas, or are you kind of?
That's a great question. It's hard to. You've got to think it's really hard to predict the future, and you want to try to predict consumption. So, for example, if you're in an area that's grown a lot of apartments and a lot of residential, then you want to look and say, are these people have adequate place for self-storage? So that might be something. A lot of things now, you'll see the tunnel car washes are popping up everywhere. So you look at models and trends and see if there's a way that you could be involved. And people are really changing the way they consume entertainment. So with Topgolf, people like more of the interactive. They like it as a group. You can have food and beverage and laughter. And I mean, I've heard of, I don't know how many hundreds and thousands of people have gone, and the experience they have at a Topgolf is really among their most favorite experiences. And if you look at the dollars people spend on entertainment, they look for units of joy, basically per dollar spent. And at a Topgolf, it's people just have a fantastic time.
Right. The producer said, could you talk more into the mic?
Okay.
But yeah, Topgolf's great because I went to a networking event there last week.
Okay.
And it was honestly more fun than going to a networking dinner.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because the golfing, you got the food. The food was actually good.
Right.
Food's gotten better.
Yeah, the food has gotten better. And what's fun is a new golfer, you can go and have a good time at Topgolf. And in fact, in Germany, if you want to be a golfer, you typically have to have a license. You have to be familiar with it and pay a fee.
Wow.
And when Topgolf came to Germany, it made golf available to everybody. So you'll see people playing in jeans and high heel shoes and just having a great time. And what's so fun about Topgolf is much like bowling. You don't have to be a league bowler to enjoy bowling. You can just go your first time and just have a great time. And
right.
Topgolf's the same way.
Absolutely. Did you get a master's degree at Harvard?
I did.
I saw that in a podcast, and that stood out to me because a lot of my guests actually don't graduate college.
Right.
So is that something your parents forced you to, or you did
No. It was a goal that I had, actually. So it was something that I wanted to graduate from an Ivy League school, and it was something that it came from within, right? But when I was there, I met a lot of people, networked. It was a great experience. It was very challenging, and it's been very, very helpful.
Nice.
But a lot of people today, if you have, going back to clarity, if you have clarity, you may not need to spend the time to do that.
Right. I feel like it's changed a lot in the past 20, 30 years with the internet, with social media, courses, mentors. College seems to be losing its value a bit. Do you agree with that?
I do. So what's not losing its value is focus and getting to clarity and taking responsibility, accountability. That's not losing its focus.
Right.
But as far as school, our methodology, oftentimes they're a stepping stone or a checkbox. They might not be what a person actually needs. So if you're going to be an entrepreneur and depending on the industry, you may not need a degree, but you might need an understanding of accounting. You might need an understanding of marketing, and you could take a master's class online, or you could go and be an intern for somebody and pick that up. So there's lots of ways to get education outside of the university system.
Right. So when you graduated, what was that next step? Were you in debt?
Are you interested in coming on the Digital Social Hour podcast as a guest? Well, click the application link below in the description of this video. We are always looking for cool stories, cool entrepreneurs to talk to about business and life. Click the application link below, and here's the episode, guys.
I was not in debt. I actually worked my way through college and
it.
paid my own way. And then I was not in debt. But, I didn't really have a plan B. So when I got out, it was like, I really got to make a go at this. And if you read my book, I had a car wreck at age 5. And I had a traumatic brain injury, which I had a stutter. It was really bad.
Wow.
And I started, of all places, at Merrill Lynch. And back in those days, you would cold call. And I remember the manager saying hot leads and gave me a white pages. And I thought I was starting the back with the W's, and all my clients had like crazy names, and I couldn't pronounce them. But I'd call, I'd say, hi, it's Erik Weir, Merrill Lynch. And I get hung up on almost all the time, right? So, but what turned out is that was such a hard thing to deal with. But when you go knock on somebody's office door, that was before all the no trespassing, and we'll arrest you if you show up, right? Yeah. You kind of show up and knock, and they'll let you in, and you're stuttering. They're like, "Oh, come on in, relax, have a seat." And next thing you know, it ended up being a very a big blessing in my life. After
Wow, how were you able to fix a stutter?
That's a good question also. So I was at a church service. I'm about 38 years old, and a pastor was talking about be grateful for the things that you view as an impediment. Your lack, turn it into gratitude, because it has power over you if it holds you back, right? And for me, I was angry, I was frustrated, I got this wreck. Maybe I was even mad at God, right? And then I said, well, God, thank you. This was the hardest prayer I ever did. God, thank you for the stutter that has so impacted my life.
Wow.
And I thought impacted negatively, right? And it wasn't like it went away the next day, but over 2 or 3 years, the stutter went away. And a funny story is I did an interview with Stuttering Magazine. And
that's a thing?
Yeah, it's a thing. Yeah, it's a thing.
Wow.
There's a lot of us out there, I guess. Like Ed Sheeran did an interview. Like, he stuttered.
He has a stutter?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
No, I didn't either, no.
Wow.
But apparently he has a stutter. He did an interview too, but I did my interview. And it was the only interview at that point where I didn't stutter. And I felt so bad, like I'm a fake stutterer. I'm not even stuttering right now on the interview. But it was a big shaping event in my life. But it really gives you gratitude, and it gives you, I guess, relatability to other people.
Yeah. Has God always played a big role in your life?
He has. He has, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I've noticed in some top-level entrepreneurs, some sort of religion or faith, actually.
Right. And I think it's, believing there's purpose to life. There's something that's bigger than you. And also believing and really getting to gratitude. I tell people that your attitude will never exceed the altitude of your gratitude. So if you're grateful, those people are almost always happier, right? They seem a more contented life.
Wow.
Than the people who are not grateful.
Yeah, I love that. Gratitude's important. I do a gratitude journal every morning.
No way. That's so powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done it for 3 years straight, and just write down 5 to 10 things I'm grateful for every single day.
Yeah, and we all have that. My father was in a car wreck recently, and he lost some mobility, and he's still a happy, grateful guy. Because instead of being like missing, hey, I can't walk without a walker, he says, I'm grateful I'm alive.
Wow.
I'm grateful I can still have time with my family. So he's actually as grateful as he was before, though his circumstance changed adversely.
Incredible. And that's a mindset thing, because
it is.
A lot of people get in a wreck, they get paralyzed, and it destroys them.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And I think that for me, being grateful, and there's some days we all have hard days, right? Something bad happened, but how do you take a moment? And where you're doing it at night is probably the best time, because you go to bed with grateful thoughts.
Yeah, I do it before bed and when I wake up, yeah. And that's when you can really start manifesting too, during those hours, because your brain's in a different mode.
100%.
Yeah, I know you're also a big family guy.
I am.
5 kids.
Yeah, only 5, yeah.
That's a lot, man.
all sons, yeah. I'm proud of all of them.
Wow, all sons.
Yeah, it's fun, and they all love Topgolf too. It's fun to go out. We go out and we'll play green grass golf sometimes.
Yeah,
and I've got to talk to the guys. There are a lot of us. What's the most we can play at a time? So we'll rotate through, but they smack talk each other, give each other a hard time.
Nice.
And George, the little guy, who's 10. So yeah, it's start from 25 down to 10.
Wow, who's the best one at Topgolf?
Oh, I'm going to put me on the spot. No, I don't know. It depends on the day. So, yeah, so they're all different. I guess we have Harrison in Greenville. He's good. And Matthew's in California. He's good at it. Patrick's in Nashville. He is. And Wyatt's now in Virginia. And they go back and forth.
Nice.
And it depends on the day. But whoever's having a good day, make sure they point it out to the others how much better they're doing that day.
I love that. Wow. Imagine having 4 brothers. That'd be sick.
Oh, yeah. It's so fun.
That's
so
cool.
fun.
Are you educating them, or are they going to public school? How are you doing that?
Wow, another good one. So it started off when they were younger, they were homeschooled, right? So the oldest one went almost, Harrison went all the way homeschooled, then went on to Furman and became a Fulbright scholar. So he's a very academic. And then the second one, they then it went down, they went, almost all the way, but not quite as much, right? And they all went on to college afterward. Because in their particular fields, that was important for them to pursue. And the youngest one, we just don't know yet, right? With George, yeah. But I've always thought education was important. Now, what I'll say is formal education may be important for some people, but educating yourself daily, whether it's master's classes or reading or points of interest, are really the most important things. And for business, I'll say that reading books and going on an Amazon or something and searching, I want to learn about marketing, or I want to learn about social media, or I want to learn about whatever. And then reading the reviews and finding something there has probably been one of the greater sources of education. And mentorship, finding somebody who is where you want to be, maybe 3, 4, 5 years down the road, or maybe even further, and call and say, "Can I have a half hour of your time?"
Right.
And you'll be surprised how often people say yes. They almost never say no, and they'll spend that time with you. And then I always say, like, knowing what you now know, if you were starting exactly what you're doing now, what would you do differently? And then really write that down, because they give you solid advice.
Yeah.
Like, so I say, if you want to start an exterminating business or a home care business, find somebody who's doing that and just go spend some time with them.
Yep.
And that's some of the best education you'll ever have. It's applicable to exactly what you want to do, and it's free.
It's the best. I remember probably the first year or two of business, I learned more doing that than 18 years of school.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. And I think that's where the debate over the value of a college education and going into debt to get it, because it's terribly expensive right now.
Yeah.
And it can be a very big tool, but you have to evaluate with clarity again, what are you trying to get out of it, and then where do you want to go?
Yeah, the debt's the crazy part to me, because 5 kids, that could be $1 million in debt if they all go to college.
Oh, absolutely. It's a lot. It's very expensive.
Which is crazy. But learning is super important. Warren Buffett reads 8 hours a day, I just found out, which is nuts.
Right.
I don't know how people do that, man.
No, it's a lot. It's just whatever whatever your passion is, right? Like if you look at, I think the statistics, somewhere around 4 hours a day on social media. So there's time, but you can learn watching social media too, obviously. But I think it's whatever you're trying to accomplish, and if you start each day with strategic thinking, like I suggest 15 minutes a day. What today would I like to accomplish that could massively change my life? And then where do I want to go? Faith, family, fitness, finance, friends. How do I get there? Spend 15 minutes thinking about it. And then you break your day into strategic action, take action right away. Then you break it into offense, where you're trying to gain ground, defense, hold ground, like return phone calls, things of that nature. And my favorite's moonshot. Like, what one thing could you attempt to do today? Who could you call? What could you forgive somebody? What one thing could you do that could massively change your life if successful, right? If you tried that every day, even if you got like 10 or 15 in a year, right? Those are 10 or 15 things that, in your view, could massively change your life that you might not have tried otherwise.
Absolutely, yeah. For me, that reminds me of just reaching out to huge guests. Like, that's a moonshot, right? Getting on huge people like Grant Cardone or Tony Robbins, and some of them have come on. You never know.
You just don't know, right? But if you never made that shot, it wouldn't have happened. But you obviously took some time to think strategically, whether formally or not, what would make a massive difference for my podcast? Getting this guest. And then you're like, okay, well, I'm going to make an effort to get that guest. And then maybe there were 10 people like that, but 3 came on, but those are fantastic odds.
Yeah, and you got to be strategic, right? So the way I got Grant Cardone was I saw what mutual followers we had. I had 3 of those guys on the show first.
No way.
So he was able to see the podcast before I knew about it, right? And then that's how I got him, because he already knew about the pod. That's
so smart. That's strategy right there. Exactly.
Yeah. Some people, they go too fast, I think, but you got to be a little strategic.
Right.
Let's talk best and worst investments. I'm assuming best is Topgolf.
Best is Topgolf. That's right.
Okay. Worst one.
Oh, that's easy. There were 2. There was an electric car company named Fisker that came out about the same time as Tesla. And I'm like, that Fisker looks like they've got something going on. Let's invest in Fisker. And great appearance, great concept, wrong horse. I mean, it was a total zero.
Wow. I feel like they might have been a little too early.
Right.
I think Tesla was able to just have enough capital to kind of stay in shape. They were super early too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But now you see Lotus, you see pretty much every dealership launching an electric car.
They are.
And I just saw on a podcast that we're going to be switching to hydrogen cars in like 10 years.
Can you imagine?
That'd be crazy.
Yeah. The change is so it's exponential.
Yeah. So how do you stay on top of these changes as an investor? Because that's super important.
Yeah. I heard a quote one time. It says, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Right. So I try to be aware of trends. I've tried being a pioneer, like with Fisker, and I've done it with certain types of solar and things of that nature, where you're so far out in the leading edge that you can be wrong, right? I had somebody say, Eric, a lot of times the pioneers are the ones that take the losses, right? But the guys who are like Gen 2 can do a lot better, and they've already can see what's going on. So for me to stay on point, I read, just like you're saying, every day. I watch trends. I'm aware of what's going on in different business journals or magazines, and I talk to people all the time, just like you do.
Yeah.
And what are you seeing differently? So for me, I learned about like ChatGPT early because I had some friends talking to me about it. I'm like, help me understand this. And then I started playing with it. I'm like, this is a powerful tool, right? And then it's like, okay, then you can use it for creating ideas for podcasts. You can use it for ideas for papers, for whatever you want.
Yeah.
And then you'll know at the universities, it's like, you can't use ChatGPT, right?
They banned it.
Yeah, they banned it.
Wow, I love that. It's cool to see someone your age so on top of stuff, because I feel like the older people, they're a bit slower. It's a different era.
100%, yeah. But it's so much fun to me to technology and just study. And how I've learned a lot is just going to YouTube. Like, how do I do this? And just enter it. And I just get 200,000 reviews. I'm like, this guy knows exactly what's going on in this space. And you spend 5 minutes, and I learned things. And my wife likes to buy stuff online, and I have to put it together, right?
Yeah.
And when I used to read the directions, now I go to YouTube. How to assemble this?
YouTube University, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm on YouTube probably 6 hours a day.
Are you really? Yeah.
Podcasts,
There you
audiobooks. I mean, videos. I'm studying the algorithms to see what's going viral.
No way. That's smart. Yeah. Love learning how to do that. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. So how has your relationship with money changed as you went from being broke to having, millions of dollars?
It goes back to gratitude. And I would say, as I was a boy, my parents taught me about generosity. And we went to a church, and you would give a percentage away to that. And then they were like, hey, why don't you give time, not just time, talent, treasure. How are you generous with everything? So do you take time to give back to others? Or are you the kind of person, when clothes don't fit, you take it to Goodwill so somebody else can enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
Or do you just keep it and never, that's it. So for me, it was just learning generosity and having it modeled for me, because it's not really intuitive, right? You have to have somebody kind of model it for you, being generous. And what you find out is that things like possessions and money, they don't have control over you if you live in abundance mindset, or you live in a mindset of generosity.
Wow, I love that, because too many people are controlled by money.
Right, you're controlled by the scarcity mentality.
Yeah.
And there's so many wealthy people who still are bound up by scarcity, and in fact, they have enough for many generations, but they don't feel that way.
Right.
And oftentimes, if they were, would in time experiment with generosity and giving and helping other people, they would feel, I think, joy and a relief even. And then the money no longer has the control over them that maybe it does at the present time.
Yeah, because you see people 7, 8, 9, 10-figure guys that feel like they still don't have enough. I feel like I had enough in probably $1 million.
Right.
But it's different for everyone, whatever that is. But I didn't notice any significant changes past that number personally.
Yeah, there's a statistic, and it's somewhere around, maybe it's changed with inflation, but it was like $80,000, $90,000 a year. Gave you the majority of the experience almost anyone would have. And not that, $1 million doesn't make you, a little happier, a little more flexibility, but oftentimes it doesn't really materially change anything. And sometimes that comes with complexity in life,
right,
that maybe you didn't anticipate, right?
Yeah.
So it takes away some of the maybe the more simple times that you had before.
Easily, more money, more problems, right?
Right.
I look back at the days where I'm grinding, sleeping on couches, and I was pretty happy then too.
Right.
That's fascinating.
Right. And I think what people try to do is remove struggle from their life, but struggle is life.
Yeah.
And it gives you focus, and oftentimes it gives you fulfillment.
Absolutely. Talk to me about the book. Who's Eating Your Pie?
Yeah, I wrote that book in 2019 during, and I wrote it because people were just seemed really despondent, disconnected, and depressed. And the first chapter is called Permission to Dream. And it's like, what would you attempt to do if you could not fail? What would you do if you had the resources, the education, the network, the capital, everything you need? What would you do? And when you start dreaming that way, you don't start with like, well, I can't do this because of I don't have the money or I don't have the education. You start with the end in sight. And say, determine where you want to go, and then build the ladder down from the clouds down, and watch how that changes. Instead of building from what you know today, where would you go? What would you do if you couldn't fail? And then you break it into steps. What you can do right away, 1 week, 3 weeks, a month. But there are tools in that book to help someone go from never setting a goal to set a goal to have achievement, to learn about generosity, giving back, learn about investing, all the different pitfalls. And a lot of it I've learned from other people over the years. Worked with so many different people, and I've learned from them. And I try to create a book that would be helpful to people in a mass way.
Sounds great. Sounds like it's purpose driven, and that's kind of the path I'm on right now too. So I'm going to definitely read that book. Do you believe you can learn something from everyone, or
100%? Some of the best advice I got was from a Uber driver. I've learned things from an Uber driver. I've learned things from college professors, just about everybody, and even children. Like a kid, sometimes seeing something through their eyes, like them look at a puppy or them look at something new. You're like, man, I've lost my novelty for that, or my novelty for a bumblebee or a flower or whatever. So you can always learn from everybody.
Something special about innocence, right?
There is.
Yeah, because that's something you kind of lose as you get older.
Yeah, and you just get jaded. You just get so beaten up, and you have people take advantage or you perceive you're being taken advantage of, or you've made mistakes and had setbacks, and you hold them against you. And I was telling people, you've got to forgive other people, and when you forgive other people, that sets a prisoner free, and that prisoner's yourself, right? But oftentimes you got to forgive yourself too, right? Of mistakes that you make, knowing or unknowingly, but move on, because it really is baggage that keeps you from being where you could ultimately be.
Yeah. So that being said, do you believe everyone deserves to be forgiven?
I think that, I think there is, everyone deserves to be forgiven. I don't know if deserve is the right word. You go back to Christ, who died for all of us, right? In my faith system, and for the worst of us to the best of us, right? So that's above my pay grade, but he said, like, I died for you, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's a big deal. So for me, as a person who makes mistakes and falls short frequently, to withhold forgiveness from somebody else when I've been given so much, that's the way I look at it. So I've received a lot of that.
Yeah.
So why would I withhold it?
I'm similar in that regard, because my father never forgave certain people, and I saw it eat away at his health. And even though I've been scammed, I've been wronged, I actually forgive those people because I don't want that mental load on me.
That's
so it's
powerful,
actually in a way for me too, to just get it off my chest.
Yeah, I mean, it's so powerful. And the simple things in life, they may be hard or they may be difficult, but there's not a cost, a monetary cost. There could be an emotional cost, right? Not a monetary cost. But by forgiving people, they're not consuming you. You don't have an ulcer.
Yeah.
You don't have, you can sleep at night. You're not vengeful. You're not driven by awful thoughts, right? But think about how your creativity is consumed by that. We only have so much energy, right?
Yeah.
And if you're using your energy to hold stuff against people, it's just bad energy, really.
Bad energy. I believe in karma, all that stuff, negative energies. So I want to be as positive as possible.
Yeah.
And I could see it, honestly, because I used to have resentment. I used to not forgive people, and my life was a lot worse, to be honest.
Yeah, so true, so true. And you see it. Well, for you to pick that up at such a young age is fantastic. But a lot of people, they take that to the grave.
It was hard to pick up. Yeah, if I didn't have the right mentors and the right videos to watch, I don't know if I would have, honestly.
Right,
because it's really hard to just pick up naturally.
It's not natural, really. It's not. It's foreign, because you feel you've been taken advantage of. So why would you? You feel like you're doing them a favor, right?
Yeah.
To let them go, but in fact, the favor is for yourself, and because if you believe that, like, the world's round, you've heard all the karma. The world's round. You sow and you reap, all that. So it's really not up to you what happens to them, right? Because we really want them to experience what we experienced. It's not up to you. You let it go. It's just up to you. All you can control is releasing them. That's all you can control.
Absolutely. Eric, it's been fun, man. What are you working on next, and where can people find you?
Okay. Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. You can find me on erikweir.com. That's ERIKWEIR.com. I continue to work on Topgolf, and I try to always meet interesting people.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on, man. Thanks for watching, guys, as always, and I'll see you next time.